In this lesson, not only are we going to create a stand-up card, we're also going to create a shaker card. Look! And you know what the fun part of it is? There's candy in there. It's real candy. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to eat it, but doesn't it look adorable? And it's actually very easy to create. The first thing you're going to need is a couple little things. You're going to need the stand-up card die set, and this one is called, oh gosh, I want to get you the official name. I believe it's the Bubbly. This is the Bubbly, and it's so much fun because it has all of these extra pieces in it, but we're not going to use all of them. We're also going to use this framelit set that you're going to say, gosh, that looks really close to that one. If I turn it this way, it does. It layers with this one. So they really, really coordinate together perfectly. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up this die set. And this one comes with 22 dies, but don't be overwhelmed with the 22. I just like to make sure you get the most bang for your buck. You're going to focus on the 3 largest dies. And in fact, on this card, we're only going to use the 2 largest dies. So I'm going to put this one off to the side. And we are going to die cut our base. So we're going to get our cardstock. I always like to start with the base because then I have my foundation to finish my card. I'm going to lay this down and we're going to run this through. And this paper is a little bit too wide, so what I'm going to do, easy fix, we're going to lay our extended cutting pad on top and we're going to trim it down. This way, if I cut it just like this, it's not really cutting it, right? It's tearing it. But I know that not only is it going to fit through the machine, but it's going to be the right size for this card. So we're going to lay this down. And it's okay that I've torn it because that edge is just going to get thrown away anyway. I'm going to lay the die down and I'm going to skew it ever so slightly. Stay on your platform, but I'm going to skew it. That way I'm not going to get a speed bump when I run it through the machine because we want that roller to cut it and not jump over it. So we're going to cut it. And there's lots of blade in this one, so you might hear some cracking, but again, that's normal. Don't worry about that. And you might even get a lot of cut marks on your cutting pads. That's what it's for. So I know the first time people use these, they get cut marks on it and they get all nervous. No. That's what it's supposed to do. So then we have our stand-up card, and we're going to pop it out. Now, it has cut it and scored it for me in some fun spots. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it right now on the score line in half. And that's all I'm going to do right now is just score it right there in half. Now this is a standard A2 size card. Now we're going to cut one of the layers. We're just going to use the largest layer and I'm going to use some pattern paper and we're going to lay that down. Now you're going to notice that I really want this die to be straight with this paper because it has so many fun dots. But if I turn it, look at this, if I turn it so I don't get a speed bump, my paper is going to go off the edge. So here's a fun tip. What you're going to do is you're just going to take, again, your cutting pad. Why bother cutting it when you're just going to cut it later, right? So just tear it. Now I can lay this on there. See, my dots are straight, and I can pivot my die so there's no speed bumps. Tricky, huh? It's all learned from trial and error. So now we're going to pop that out. Now I have the layering piece for my die. Now, let's make our shaker card. This is where the fun really begins. What we're going to do is we're going to take this nested piece here. There's a whole bunch of dies in here. There's 8 total. Now, you can make a shaker card with any die that has a shadow. So these technically have shadows because this is a shadow of that one, that's a shadow of that one, and so on. And what we're going to do is I'm going to cheat and I'm going to figure out which one I need here. So I'm going to use those 2. So I've already die cut this one piece, so I'm going to see that I'm going to use these 2 dies. So I'm going to peel that one up, and I'm going to peel this one up. So these I'm not going to use right now. I'll save those for later. And what we're going to do is a couple different things. Number 1, we're going to start at the bottom. So think of the foundation. We need a back to our card, right? Or to our shaker card. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our white cardstock and we're going to cut the back, right? Now, we also need in the same, and let me show you the sample so you can really see it. We also need the acetate cut to be the same size as the back. Well, let's get some acetate. This is just acetate right here. Oh, that's a dirty one. Let's get a clean one. And we're going to lay that because on framelits, as long as there's not a score line, you can cut 2 at a time. We're going to lay that down as well. So I have my acetate and the back of my shaker card, or the shaker piece. So now I'm going to lay the cutting pad down and I'm going to run those through. Now that's going to be a big crunch because that acetate is really thick, but it's going to be fantastic. So now we're going to pull those off to the side. And look how great that cut it. I do highly recommend putting the acetate on top of the cardstock because it gives it a cleaner cut. If you were to put the acetate below the cardstock when you die cut it, sometimes it just kind of bends the acetate. You really want it to cut, so put it on top. Okay, so now we have that piece cut out. So this is our window. This is our window for our shaker. This is the back. Now we need the frame to go around it. This is where we're going to use both pieces. What I've done is I've taken just a piece of craft foam, everyday craft foam, and I've added Sizzix adhesive to the front and the back. So here I've already done that. I have Sizzix adhesive on the front and the back. So now we're going to make our frame for the very front. We're going to grab the same die pieces that we used for our foam piece. We're going to lay that down, and now our handy dandy magnetic platform just takes over for us, so we don't have to worry about that one at all. We're going to get a cutting pad and run that through. So now this is cutting the top frame for us. And then we get to put our shaker card together, or our shaker piece together. So now these pieces we can save for later, use them for another project. And here is my frame. Now we get to put it together. Let's move all this off to the side. And let's add our adhesive piece here first. So we'll just get this done so we don't have to worry about it later. And of course it all layers perfectly. No extra cutting required, which is so fantastic. And now let's put our card together. Our base together. I am going to, here, let's use this so you can really see it because I want you to be able to see it. So this is that's just my table. We are going to get the back of our shaker card, or I keep calling it a card, it's just really our shaker. So I have the back of our shaker. Then I'm going to peel off one piece, one side of the sticky back adhesive, okay? I'm gonna lay that down, line it up. There we go. Now I have like a little reservoir here for my little candies. Now you could add rhinestones, you could add buttons, you could add glitter, you could add anything you want. I'm gonna add some candy, which I will be honest, I think this is the first time I've ever added candy to a card. Okay, so, but look how cute that is. Isn't that cute? Nice and cheap too. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of lay those out so they kind of really lay flat. Then I'm gonna peel up the second part of the adhesive for the other side. Remember, we had adhesive on both sides. There we go. And I'm gonna add my window. Now I don't want those little guys to get on the side, so let's move you back over here, little guy. Move back over here, little guy. Okay, we're gonna add our window. Remember, we die cut our acetate. We're gonna add our little window. It's all the right size. And those little guys are gonna start moving around. Look at those little guys. That one wants to be eaten. He doesn't want to stay in the card. Okay. So, oh, look at these little guys. Come on, guys. Come on. Okay, so now, can you believe it? Is that awesome? To finish it off, we have another frame. Now we could have put Sizzix adhesive on the back of this, but I didn't think fast forward. So let's see if this one has it. That one doesn't either. So we're gonna add adhesive to this, and this is just gonna finish off our frame so we don't see the acetate there. See how you see the acetate right now? This is just gonna finish it off with that same frame. Look at this. We just made a shaker box. How easy peasy was that? Anytime you have dies that nest, you can make a shaker. Isn't that fantastic? Okay, so now let's add adhesive to the back of this. Crunch, crunch. We're gonna add adhesive to this. Add that little guy. And I think we're all gonna fight over who gets to eat that little piece. We're gonna lay that down. Now let's finish it off by adding some ribbon, because you can never have too much ribbon in your life. Isn't that the truth? And we're gonna just add this. Tie it this way. Let's flip it back this way. How'd you get that way? Okay. So we're gonna add this. Now to make a bow, remember you're gonna go behind the loop to get a better bow. Look at that, isn't that adorable? Now we're gonna trim the legs a little bit. Trim, trim. And then to finish off a little bit more, we have these cute little flowers. I've already added adhesive to these, so I'm just gonna add a little flower here and a little flower here, and then add some epoxy dots. You could use rhinestones, you could use buttons, anything you have. There we go. And last but not least, because isn't that gorgeous, we want to add a little something something in the inside. So I had a little strip of paper that I was just going to add just to kind of finish it off. So we'll add this on the inside. right there. Kind of center it there. There we go. Now you'll notice it has this little, what I call a belly button notch. I'm going to just kind of lift that up ever so slightly. Then I'm going to fold it on these score lines here. I'm going to just kind of finger press them and look at how my card stands up. Oh, and here's a tip. See how it's standing up, but it's kind of popping up just a little. It's like not really staying in the little notch where it's supposed to. That just means I need to score it ever so slightly a little bit more. So you could use a bone folder. I just use whatever I have handy, so I'm just using a cutting pad. There we go. I just scored it a little bit more. Now it's going to layer perfectly in that little belly button notch. Isn't that fantastic? Now, last but not least, let's add a cute little twine bow / button right there, right by that belly button notch, just to add a little extra, and there's our card. Let's look at it before. So here's, when your recipient gets it, it's going to look like this. They're going to open it up, but it's going to be a stand-up card, so it stands for display, and we have this cute little shaker. Isn't that fantastic? Thanks so much, and stay tuned for even more fun videos.